Three, two, one. How's it going, guys? Thanks for joining me. My name is Jason J. Daniel. I am going live on the internet again tonight. I have a podcast. My name is Jason, and my podcast is named after me, the Jason J. Daniel Show. Thanks for watching. I need to just set up a little bit of audio here. We're live on the internet. So today, interesting day, man. Really interesting day in in the world of the Charlie Kirk shooting and assassination. Every day, it's another story, and it seems like every story is compounding the truth. Every story is building on every other story, which is building a foundation of what we all thought this was. Today, there was a lot of revelations that came out. Um, Little baby coward murderer Tyler Robinson was arraigned today for the first time. There was a press conference. Charges were officially, I guess, filed against him. And thanks for watching, guys. And let me just do my sound here. And 1 second here. Press conference. Charges were cool. Thank you. I have to listen to myself to make sure we're cool. I don't have headphones on, which that's a setup I'm going to add. I will improve what I'm doing, but right now I am just kind of going guerrilla style. So I just put my podcast together. I don't have all special fancy equipment, but I do my best, and I'm just trying to stay on top of this story for folks. I know a lot of you are exhausted by it. I kind of am too, but today was a real pivotal day. Like I was saying earlier, Tyler Robinson, you can call him a ledge killer. It seems like he's the guy. They have everything. You name it. DNA confession. We'll get into that. But he was arraigned today, and he's also given his official charges. The feds have not filed their charges, but the state, they filed their charges. We're going to watch some of that press conference as much as I think is worth watching. You've probably heard every major detail already, but I'm going to break it down a little bit. When I watched it, some things stood out to me. Sorry, I get ahead of myself sometimes, and I have more than one sentence will come out. But when I watched it, I went to the gym in the middle of the day, and I was watching it at the gym, and a lot of things stood out to me, a lot. So I'm going to watch it with you, give you some commentary. Another thing that really stood out is there was a text message release between baby murderer demon Tyler and Twiggy Ziggy. I forget the name of the lover, the transitioning lover, but between the two guys, there was some sort of a romantic confession. Real odd, real odd. Um, a lot of things were established today that we know were true, that we knew were true the moment the murder happened. Something else was revealed in this, and I'll point it out to you that I thought was interesting, about how the information on Charlie Kirk's status of health was relayed to us. There were some things that no one talked about. There was something I noticed in the press conference. Nobody talked about it, and I thought, that's really interesting. May not be a big deal to you, but it was kind of a big deal to me, just kind of on the reality of the truth of what we're getting in this. I believe we're getting most of the truth, probably 85%. Kash Patel did an interview, was it yesterday, I think? Dan Bongino did an interview today. Everybody is trying to, in the federal government, trying to just get this moving forward as fast as they can and kind of get this solved, right? Pam Bondi said something about free speech versus hate speech that was completely awkward. She's backtracked on it today. She said that yesterday. Also, the vice president, I'm sure you saw that. He did Charlie Kirk's show in the time slot that Charlie usually does it. And that was really interesting and quite motivational if you're a conservative. So if you're watching, really appreciate it, guys. Again, my name is Jason J. Daniel. We're just going to jump right into the video. I would like to ask you at this moment, stand by, I'm my own producer, so I have all these screens up, right? I would like to ask you to do me a solid, which would be to please subscribe and follow me now on YouTube, or follow me on X, or subscribe on Rumble. I'm also on Twitch. So this is being streamed in 4 different areas right now, on 4 different apps. So I'd really appreciate a like and a share. A reshare would be really cool. I normally do 1 show a week, but I've been doing a show almost every day since this happened, because this is worldwide breaking news, earth-shattering news. So I gave you a little bit of the rundown of all the stuff that's kind of been popping. And again, my name is Jason J. Daniel. This is the Jason J. Daniel Show. Follow me on X. I do a lot of interviews. We do sports on TikTok. I have a sports TikTok. My podcast is sports, politics, and anything interesting. I also do a lot of California politics because I'm in California. Okay, there you go. Table is set. So let's go to the press conference, and I will screen share for you. And let's just get into the actual press conference together. Here we go. Oh, let me share that. Sorry about that. Okay, cool. We should be on presentation view. Okay, so let's bump this cat up here. Let's rock.
The bedrock of our democratic republic, the free exchange of ideas in a search for truth, understanding, and a more perfect union. It is also an offense against the state and to the peace and enjoyment of the people of Utah and of all those who visit here.
So this cat was pretty pissed.
But Charlie Kirk's murder also strikes a more personal and intimate chord. Charlie Kirk was first and foremost a husband and a father to 2 beautiful young children.
Yeah, that's important.
He was a son, he was a brother, and a friend. Like all murders, the senseless and needless taking of Charlie Kirk's life has shattered the lives of those he loved and those who loved him.
That's so true. We don't want to lose track of that, even though the nation has kind of co-opted this and they're all feeling the pain, and a lot of folks are taking this very personally that didn't even know him, and especially the people that knew him or the people that he touched. But we can't forget that the family, his wife and his kids, they're going to be affected forever. Let's be honest. Once this settles, a month, 2, 3, 4, 5 months, we're not going to forget. But a lot of us, obviously, we're going to move on with our lives, and they're not. They have to, but they're not going to have an amazing man. And the more every day, the more I'm learning about him, the more amazing Charlie Kirk was. Again, I wasn't a huge fan of him. I saw him on things. I wasn't watching full interviews. I kind of felt like he was a little redundant, at times. But obviously that was his message, and his message wasn't my demographic. It was obviously the youth, the under 30 demographic, the college age, which is so ironic because the people it's really ironic. The age he was reaching is that a college kid killed him. It's so crazy.
Charlie's wife, Erica, his 2 young children, his parents, his family, and his friends. I express my sincere condolences and offer my heartfelt prayers on your behalf. I also want to express my concern for everyone who was at Charlie's Turning Point USA event at the Utah Valley University, and all who have been impacted by this tragedy. As county attorney, I am charged with bringing justice to those who offend our laws. I am charged with bringing justice for those who harm.
I actually thought he did a great job in this press conference.
I am charged with bringing justice.
It's not easy. The whole world's watching this.
I am committed to these.
The world's going to watch this forever.
I take this responsibility seriously.
I believe that. I can see it on his face.
Today, after reviewing the evidence that law enforcement has collected thus far, I am filing a criminal information charging Tyler James Robinson, age 22, with the following crimes.
Here we go.
Count 1, aggravated murder.
Whoa.
A capital offense for intentionally or knowingly causing the death of Charlie Kirk under circumstances that created a great risk of death to
Wow.
others.
Wow.
Count 2, felony discharge of a firearm causing serious bodily injury, a first-degree felony.
Okay.
The state is further alleging aggravating factors on counts 1 and 2 because the defendant is believed to have targeted Charlie Kirk based on Charlie Kirk's political expression
Wow.
and did so knowing that children were present and would witness the homicide.
That's interesting, right? The children being present, that's
The
part of the
state is also
charges.
charging
It's a great thing.
defendant with count 3, obstruction of justice,
Sure.
a second-degree felony for moving and concealing the rifle used in the shooting.
Sure.
Count 4, obstruction of justice, a second-degree felony for disposing the clothing he wore during the
I
shooting.
didn't know that was a felony.
Count 5,
I did not.
witness
Maybe that's a thing in
tampering,
Utah.
a third-degree felony
That's interesting.
for directing his roommate to delete his incriminating text.
Baby Twiggy dressed like a
Count
creature.
6,
Okay.
witness tampering, a third-degree felony for directing his roommate to stay silent if police questioned him.
Okay.
And count 7, commission of a violent offense in the presence of a child, a
Interesting.
Class A misdemeanor, for committing
That's
homicide,
interesting.
knowing that children were present and may have seen or heard the murder and did so based on Charlie Kirk's political expression.
Interesting.
Also, following the press conference, I am filing a notice of intent to seek the death penalty.
Whoa. Okay.
I do
We knew
not
that
take
was
this
coming.
decision lightly,
Wow.
and it is a decision I have made independently as county attorney, based solely on the available evidence
You all sweaty.
and circumstances and
I've been
nature
waiting.
of the
The
crime.
death penalty.
Because we are seeking the death penalty, the defendant will continue to be held without bail in the Utah County Jail.
Well, thank God, because with the way the Democrats were going, we were just
Turning
kind
to
of
the
wondering.
10-page information,
Will this fucker stay in jail?
these are the
Of
allegations.
course he would. Okay. So, he's
Conducted a manhunt.
so he's going to get into a lot of specific stuff, but I'm going to stop at a point that's very interesting, and you've probably already watched some of this.
Manhunt for the shooter until the evening of September. Robinson hid the gun,
Okay, so he doesn't
discarded
break
the
down
clothing
exactly
he
what
wore when
happened.
he fired the rifle, and told his roommate to delete incriminating text messages and not talk to police. Children were present at the time of the shooting. The shooting. Turning Point USA,
Blow me up.
a nonprofit organization founded in 2012 by Charlie Kirk. Mr. Kirk is a well-known conservative
So he goes into
activist,
explain,
famous for
kind of
these
like if
type
you
of
were reading
events
like the
where he
actual
discusses various
charges on
political
paper
issues
if you were not
and
familiar.
debates
It's
with
like a
audience
pretty
members.
detailed breakdown.
His events and comments have garnered significant publicity and interest. Consequently, several hundred people attended. Mr. Kirk was interacting with the crowd
This is
before the
interesting.
event officially got underway. Then, at approximately noon, Mr. Kirk seated himself under a portable canopy behind a table and microphone.
Interesting.
He began speaking to the crowd and fielding questions from attendees, a format Mr. Kirk commonly used at his events. Mr. Kirk allowed
I'll say this. I really wasn't aware that he did this on a frequent basis until just recently. I should have known this, but I didn't know that he would go to campuses. I know, sounds ignorant, but I just didn't know. And he would just do this. He'd set up and do a mic, debate me, and prove me wrong and all these things. I saw a number of clips over the years as he did it, and I kind of knew it was a thing, but I didn't know it was such a frequent thing he did. So it was interesting to hear this kind of explained by this guy.
his questioners to approach a microphone positioned directly in front of him. Mr. Kirk's team members were very close to him on his right and left,
That's interesting.
as well as some behind his canopy and others at various close locations.
That's interesting to talk about. And I didn't really think about that, but there were so many people in close proximity to him that any of those people could have died too. They could have been killed. like what happened to Donald Trump in Butler. He got clipped, and everybody else around him, they were in mortal danger. People were injured. One was murdered. Um, so didn't really think about that, but that was a serious possibility. If they had missed Charlie, or if the bullet had gone through Charlie and had actually hit someone else, that would have been even more tragic. So I just tend to go, hey, that was kind of a miracle that no one else got hurt, especially with the chaos, right? No one was hurt, trampled, nobody was injured at all. There was no injuries reported. So that stood out to me. I'm like, that's interesting. They didn't report anybody injured at all after this, but Charlie, interesting.
Near him. The large crowd surrounded Mr. Kirk on three sides. Temporary metal fencing
Right.
separated attendees from Mr. Kirk by only a matter of feet.
Okay, so
Directly
no
above and behind Mr. Kirk was the UVU Hall of Flags, an indoor walkway spanning several hundred feet with floor-to-ceiling glass windows which overlooked the plaza where Mr. Kirk was seated.
So that's interesting.
People were in the walkway at the time of the shooting.
That's interesting too. So he's saying that, I mean, it was a canopy behind him. There was no barrier. A bullet could have gone through that, and that there were people in the building behind him where the shots were fired. Going back to what I said earlier, I was wondering why they didn't file attempted murder charges. Also, I guess that doesn't matter because, I mean, he's got the max charges. Death penalty couldn't get any worse. But that was essentially attempted murder on anyone in the scientific area, right? If you actually did the math on where the bullet trajectory was going, you could look and say, okay, these two people could have been possibly hit. He also goes on to say, and I don't want to spoil it, something else related to this.
Approximately 15 minutes into the event,
15 minutes.
Mr. Kirk was answering a question about mass shootings by transgender individuals.
That's really fucking important. And for you that are trying to come up with an excuse as to why this is not related to the trans activist violent phenomenon that's occurring, epidemic that it's become now quite the issue, you have to accept the fact that that is a major component of the motivation. Now, they haven't really talked about motivation, but we all know what the motivation is, right? If you've been watching my podcast, if you've been watching everybody else, you know what the motivation is. And they go on to give you the motivation. Baby coward murdering demon Tyler actually tells us through text messages what his motivation was. And it's quite sad because he really didn't have a motivation beyond wanting to kill Charlie for the words he said. But the fact that he was shot when he was addressing trans violence was a purposeful moment. Tyler was waiting for that moment, and that's when he shot Charlie Kirk.
When a gunshot rang out,
bam,
the bullet struck Mr. Kirk.
Now listen to this. This is what I was talking about earlier. This is what stood out to me about the misinformation we received about his health when this went down.
In
the neck.
He slumped to the ground almost immediately.
Okay.
The bullet's trajectory passed closely to several other individuals beside Mr. Kirk,
which we mentioned earlier. That's why I'm wondering why there's no attempted murder. But maybe when he was the other charges saying great bodily injury, whatever that jargon is, and with other people around or something like that, with possible harm to others, maybe that's where that comes into play, because this is attempted murder on the other people that were in vicinity as well,
including the questioner who was standing directly in front of Mr. Kirk.
Okay, so that person, we forgot about that person. There was a person asking him a question. That gunshot was on this side of that person. This is my right side, wherever you're watching this. Boom. So Charlie was directly, that would be reasonable, right? To be facing that person reasonably perpendicular. And that person could have been killed as well. They could have been hit when that bullet traveled through. I mean, no one has talked no one's interviewed that. I'm sure the FBI has, but no media has interviewed that person. Nobody's really asked that person, how are you doing? As far as I see, that's an interesting moment. That person has quite the story, I'm assuming. Now, there's been conversations that possibly that person that asked the question was asking it on purpose to signal baby demon murderer Tyler up on the roof. I don't think that's legitimately reasonable, but they do give us evidence, and this is probably true, that more people knew about this, especially the roommate, before it happened.
Children were visible near Mr. Kirk's stage
You
when
don't
he was
fuck with
shot.
children. Doesn't matter about the
Mr.
children.
Kirk was rushed to a nearby hospital where he was declared deceased.
Okay, so earlier on he says, and maybe I missed it, Charlie Kirk was killed at the rally. He was dead when he was shot. He died. There's a video later on with him being carried to the car. Boom. There was word that he was helevaced. Is that what you would call it? Evac by helicopter. Maybe I just made that up. Evac by helicopter, which wasn't true. And there were stories that he was in critical condition and he was in surgery. That was actually released. That wasn't true. They lied to us. He was DOA, and it looked like it. When the videos came out, everybody's like, before they announced he was dead, everybody was like, he's dead. There's no way you could survive that shot and lose that much blood. He looked like he died. So this reveals to us that we were lied to. I mean, that like maybe it doesn't matter to you. It matters to me. I think that was interesting that we were kind of put out there, hanging out. We were hanging out to. We were holding on to hope. Everybody was holding on to hope for about an hour or two, and then they finally announced that he had died. But everybody there knew he died, and I think and the rumors were hitting social media that he died there, but the media was telling us, and I think Charlie's people were telling us he was still hanging on to life. So fuck those guys. That was mean. That was super mean, because we all were feeling like he made it, and then we were let down. That was super selfish. They should have been telling us the truth, but it is what it is. I just thought that was an interesting distinction.
The medical examiner's report is still pending,
which should be interesting.
So UVU surveillance. So at the moment of the shot, a UVU police officer,
they talk about how they got him on
as a potential shooting position, climbed over the railing and down onto the roof.
They could see an imprint.
He then walked to the suspected shooting position, and
he's talking about one of the officers that was there just went up there to secure the evidence, which I thought was pretty smart.
Confirmed a clear shooting corridor between the position and Mr. Kirk's seat.
I'm not going to get into the specifics on why wasn't that a protected area, because they're saying in this press conference, perfect place to shoot somebody from, a perfect vantage point. It's interesting, and I think that's for the future. It's a conversation. Why wouldn't you have people on the roofs? Why wouldn't you? I mean, guy's super famous, public figure, political, controversial, gets death threats all the time. I mean, I think that's on his security and on everybody, right? All the security. Now, I don't want to, I'm sure Charlie Kirk's security team, they feel bad enough. Okay. I get it. So I don't think anybody, look, it's not their fault that this lunatic did what he did. It's not their fault. It's their job to protect him. And that's between them and obviously the family and all that. But it is interesting that the guy had a perfect shot. It was almost like it was destiny in a lot of weird ways. It's weird.
He also noticed markings in the gravel from the public walkway. Time of the shot, the individual arose and ran across the roof to the northeast.
So
this discovery led to an intensive review of UVU surveillance recordings to attempt to track and identify the suspect.
He really didn't try.
Surveillance revealed the following. He raises his head enough to get a clear image of his shot was fired in that wooded area in the roof, suggesting a bolt action rather than an auto-loading weapon.
That's interesting.
And only a single round was fired.
Here we go.
Each round in the rifle contained an
This is interesting, and We knew this right away that there was a trans connection. There was there was a gamer connection, and so they go ahead and talk about what was on the casings, which we've heard it before, but I think it's interesting to hear again.
Inscription as follows: the fired cartridge was etched, "No Tice's bulge, OWO, what's this?"
It's like a game thing.
The second cartridge.
Maybe I'm just too old for that shit.
That was again not spent. The last three were not spent, were not fired.
So
The second, hey fascist,
that's
catch.
a
with
hey
arrow
fascist catch.
symbols.
So apparently that's from a video game, but clearly there was an intentionality behind Charlie Kirk's a fascist. Blah. We've heard all this obviously before. It is interesting. He had 4 shots and only took 1, only needed 1. But I wonder, would he have, if he had missed Charlie, would he had kept shooting? Was this kind of like a do or die mission? Forgive the pun. But was this like, I'm all in for 4 shots? Because clearly you missed the first shot. By the time you get to 4, your chance of getting out of there is slimmer. I just don't think this guy thought he really was going to get out of this and get away with it. If he did, he's just dumber than his. They say he had a 4.0 GPO. There's nothing about this story that proves that to me. I think that's false.
The third cartridge.
He's just dumb.
Oh, Bella Ciao, Bella Ciao, Bella Ciao,
I don't
Ciao,
know
Ciao.
It's some dumb video.
The
you
fourth
video gamers that are
cartridge.
obsessed with this shit.
If you read this, you are gay.
You read this, you're gay. We're gonna hear that forever.
LMAO.
LMAO.
The rifle, ammunition rounds, and towel
I don't-
were sent
you know
for
what?
forensic
It's just-
processing.
Whatever, man.
DNA consistent with defendant was found on the trigger, other parts of the rifle.
2 things. I don't want to be the guy that is the old boomer that's like, you video game nerds, sometimes you take this shit too far. But it is a little frustrating that a man's life was like a joke to him, right? Now clearly it had to mean nothing. He murdered him. But it's just odd to me that was important for him to create these video game meme things, and he goes on to mention in the text messaging the intentionality of that. It's just frustrating to me. A second point, he mentions this prosecutor here mentions the DNA on the trigger and DNA. Man, your DNA is everywhere. You just don't even realize you leave DNA everywhere. And apparently this guy did. He just didn't think it through. I honestly don't think this guy thought he was either going to pull it off or get away clean, which he kind of did, but not really.
The fired cartridge casing, 2 of the 3 unfired cartridges, and the towel.
And the towel, of course.
Law enforcement was unable to immediately locate
even a clean
the
towel,
shooter.
I suppose.
So they published photos of the shooter from the UVU surveillance cameras and asked for the public's help to identify him. Meanwhile, law enforcement continued to try to identify a family friend to turn himself in.
Okay, this is interesting to me.
Robinson's mother stated that the following to police investigation. On the evening of September 11th, 2025, as law enforcement continued their investigation, Tyler James Robinson went to the Washington County Sheriff's Office.
I jumped ahead, but I'll just paraphrase for him. Mommy saw it on TV or on her phone. This looks like my son. Texted him. He said, "I'm homesick, Mommy." And then Mommy goes to Daddy. I have no respect for this family, by the way. Mommy goes to Daddy, if you haven't been able to tell already. And Daddy goes, "That looks like him." Then they see a picture of the rifle. "Oh, that looks like a rifle he owns," right? They gave him a gun for a gift. That's a whole nother thing. He is an inbred-looking, chucklehead, little baby boy, like a soy boy, and they give him a fucking rifle as a present? Look, I'm not some gun control nut, but that's an interesting question. That why would this loser, here's a rifle. He jobless. Later on they say he has no money because he gets the public defender and all that. The court says that in the arraignment. Jobless. He has some loser boyfriend. They're just shacking up, doing their thing. They dress like furry animals. He's a video game nerd. He's basically a worthless person doing nothing to contribute to society, and his parents give him a fucking rifle? Makes no fucking sense. Now, again, I'm a conservative. Gun control is not something that's a big deal for me. I'm not opposed to it, but I haven't heard an argument that's sensible to me. But if you want to start talking about that to me and talking about how this fucker got a gun when he wasn't responsible enough to probably even have a driver's license, I'm open to that conversation. How these lunatics are gifted weapons. A rifle?
with his parents and a family friend to turn himself in.
Yeah, anyway, so I jumped ahead, but they all sat around trying to figure out how to get him out of this. They didn't. So anyway, long story short, he finally, mommy and daddy catch him because they keep texting him and wanting to know and trying to call him, and he's avoiding them. And they're like, "Where's the rifle? Where are you at?" Blah blah blah. They know it's him. So instead of calling the police, saying, "Go get my slacker, loser, coward of a son and make sure he's cool," make sure it's, oh, and by the way, he sent his mom, "I'm going to kill myself," when they figured it out like a good coward would. No, I'm going to kill myself. Of course, he wasn't planning on doing that. He's a coward. So he's just, it's so frustrating that this mommy and daddy coddled him. They're part of the problem. They're part of this. So instead of just calling the police with their suspicions, they call a family friend. They talk this guy into coming to their house, and they all have a kumbaya. Are you serious? So they're no heroes to me. Everyone's trying to feel sorry for them. I have no sympathy for the devil. This family, they bear absolute responsibility for coddling this kid, this helicopter family, and gave him a rifle. It's just crazy. So now he goes on to say what happened when they bring him in. Then they all had to flip on him and tell the truth, because they're all going to prison for aiding and abetting if they don't flip on him. And to me, that's a fine line, because you don't call the police right away. He could have gotten away. And the mommy and daddy would be like saying, "Well, we tried." I think they sat around to just try to see if they could get him. They didn't get a lawyer, right? Why wouldn't you go get a lawyer if you're going to sit around in kumbaya, right? Why wouldn't you call a lawyer? Guy still didn't have a lawyer, which blew my mind until he asked for a public defender today. So they didn't do anything that would make sense to the investigation that would show me they're trying to do the right thing here. They're trying to get him out of it.
Robinson's mother stated that the following to police. On September 11th, 2025, the day after the shooting, Robinson's mother saw the photo of the shooter.
So he goes on to tell you what I just told you.
Robinson's father, a gay and trans rights oriented. Robinson's mother expressed concern to her husband that the suspect shooter looked like Robinson. Robinson's father.
Wouldn't you know your fucking kid?
Robinson's mother explained that over the last year or so, Robinson had become more political and had started to lean more to the left.
Okay. Two things. You know your kid. They knew it was him. I jumped over that. You can watch it yourself. They knew it was him. They didn't call the police. That's reprehensible to me. I know what you're thinking. It's their son. Yes, I appreciate the fact that you would not turn your back on your kid. I get that. But he committed an assassination that fractured the country. You could make a fucking phone call. You could do the right thing as a parent and an American and a human being. Get on the horn and say, "You got to surround that apartment and get my kid. He's fucking dangerous." Instead, they sat around and twiddled their thumbs and had their little baby Tyler come home, gave him some cocoa, and gave him a hug and said, "Are you okay?" The helicopter parent thing is now coming home to roost, man. We've had these for 20 years. We've had parents make all sorts of terrible decisions and deciding to not really enforce any kind of discipline on their kids. And these lunatics are now rising up to kill really good people. This Tyler guy, he's not worth a half of a Charlie Kirk. 100 baby demon Tylers, not worth the life of the man he killed. It's so senseless, and it has everything to do with the family. Everyone is missing the point here. The family has so much to do with what the children do when they get older. It's so important to check and track your children, especially when they get pulled into left-leaning ideologies that are twisted. Here's the thing, and I'll get back to it. And here, my second point. Yeah, here's the second point. Mom tells the cops, we knew he was going left wing to them. Why would she say that? Because it was a red flag. There's a difference between, hey, I'm exploring, liberal principles, and I'm a normal human and I believe these. I have great liberal friends. You know that. There's nothing wrong with that. But if your family's conservative and you go very left and very radical to the point to where your family's like, that's a red flag. That's a red flag. They let it go. And what's weird is if they're a conservative family, you would not let that shit go unless they were afraid of them. I think they were. The whole coddling him, come over, little baby Tyler, I think they were afraid of him. I think this guy threw tantrums. I think for years he was incorrigible, selfish, hard to deal with, a spoiled brat. Probably not a stretch to the truth because look what he ended up doing. I think this lunatic was so violent and aggressive around everybody, he was terrifying them. Obviously, we haven't heard that, but I'm sure that's going to come out. The way they acted, they were acting like they were afraid that if they triggered him, he'd do more violence or do violence to someone that they loved. Hey, it's not a far stretch of the imagination for them to go, maybe we're next. They're trying to find him, right? They're trying to call him. Where's the gun? That's all that went down. Now, when he was ignoring them, he was texting his lover. We'll get to that in a second. But also, this guy here said he was a left-leaning lunatic. So let's stop with trying to say was MAGA or trying to say he was a conservative. He was not. Never. He wasn't registered Republican. That was fake. His family, they weren't registered Republican, but later on they say that they were MAGA. Maybe they were independents, but he was infected by the mind virus, but he had to have the seed of death in him. I honestly believe that. You have to have murder in your DNA to be activated as a sleeper. And yes, left-leaning, I'm not, it might surprise you. I'm not blaming all the left-leaning ideologues because we have to have these conversations. I don't blame them, but they certainly helped. I wouldn't recommend being indoctrinated, but that's what happened to him.
Becoming more pro-gay and trans rights oriented.
Okay, so right there, it was a trans violence related murder. He shot Charlie Kirk when Charlie was addressing trans violence. Then he also said, and gangs or something like that. He was doing this, putting the mic down, but his thing he does, which is kind of for dramatic effect. He got shot when he was addressing that. Tyler is having sexual relations with a trans young man who was transitioning. He's in a relationship with a trans person. His family says he started going to the trans side and being more and more pro that lifestyle, which I'm not attacking that, but I'm saying we have to be honest that this is a trans-related murder, at least partially, okay? I'd say 50% related, maybe more, but I need everyone to understand. I need you to hearing me to understand that is important to the conversation. We're not going to make it all the conversation because there's more to it, but you cannot ignore it. And that's I just want to be clear. It's not an attack on the trans community to say that. It's actually healthy to say this is a problem and we have to figure this out. There you
go. She stated that Robinson began to date his roommate, a biological male who was transitioning genders.
Okay, biological male roommate. When you're dating your roommate, doesn't that make that your lover or your boyfriend? Interesting, right? It's weird to me how he says that.
This resulted in several discussions with family members. but especially between Robinson and his father, who have very different political views. In one conversation before the shooting, Robinson mentioned that Charlie Kirk would be holding an event at UVU, which Robinson said was a stupid venue for the event. Robinson accused Kirk
That's interesting.
of spreading hate. Robinson's father reported that when
So he killed him because he was spreading hate. And then later on in the text messages, he said something to that effect.
his wife showed him the surveillance image of the suspected shooter in the news,
Look at our
he
psycho
agreed that it
son.
looked like their son. He also believed that Robinson's parents were able to convince him to meet at their home.
Weird
There's
to
too
me.
much evil, and the guy, referring to
Here we go.
discuss the
Last thing to
situation,
say.
Robinson implied that he was the shooter and stated that he couldn't go to jail and just wanted to end it.
That's what he tells mommy and daddy.
When asked why he did it, Robinson explained there is too much evil, and the guy, referring to Charlie Kirk, spreads too much hate. They talked about Robinson.
Okay. So he basically says, so his reasoning was that he said, now we know his reasons. We're figuring this out. Unfortunately, it's very simple, which is really sad. I know you guys want a conspiracy theory. I know you guys want JFK again. You want, grassy knoll, a cabal. There might be a cabal. There might be, and they're investigating. There was a chat. They're saying possibly up to 20 people might have known it could have happened or knew after. They're trying to sort that out. They're interviewing more people. They did arrest the guy that jumped up and did the false flags, the older guy that said, I did it. They did arrest him and went through his phone and found some, I don't want to get banned, but I'll just say you can look up the article, but they found some stuff on his phone that gets you in a lot of fucking trouble. So not only did they give him obstruction of justice, but they hit him with some serious charges. He's going away because he's an asshole. And for some reason, he was related to some other stuff in the past that was political. Long story. Maybe we'll talk about him in the future. He's gross. But this is where we're going to end it. But he said, back to my point, Charlie is evil. He spreads hate. That's it. Nothing more complicated. He just essentially, the mind virus in his brain spewed out everything that MSNBC and Morning Joe's been saying for years, and everything that Joy Reid and then you got The View in the mornings. You got hit him with the mind virus in the mornings, hit him with the mind virus in the evenings, and in between. You name it. You've got the CNN people. He's saying the same shit that they're saying on TV and on the weird Reddit indoctrination portals online. He is regurgitating that. None of it's true. So it's sad. So the liberal mind virus crew have to take responsibility for this, or they have co-opted this guy. He's their mascot. If they don't denounce him, and you know that they're totally embracing him, which is super tragic, pathetic, and absolutely disturbing. If they don't change that if they can't get a hold of all of their disciples, the liberal the liberal leadership, the political leaders, the liberal influencers, the liberal streamers, these folks have a lot to be accountable for, because now you've got these weird sleeper lunatic guys out in the streets, and they're just so bloodthirsty. You see them dancing on Charlie Kirk's memorials, which is like dancing on his grave, creating death songs, doing chants, worshiping essentially demons, the god of death, super amped that they finally got a blood sacrifice. It's way disturbing. So I'm going to stop sharing this right now. Thanks for watching. Appreciate it. You guys hanging in there. Let's look at the arraignment really quick, because I think it's important. You see the charges. Let's talk about the arraignment. There was a long text message thing that they get into between Tyler and his boyfriend, and it's a very detailed confession and a text, which to me was completely manufactured, meaning that the boyfriend was in on it and they wanted to create distance. So they decided to, I believe they plotted that. They created a text message idea that they would do, right, in order to create cover for the boyfriend. The boyfriend, why did you do this? Asking why. Oh, tell me. And then where are you at? What's your plan? Stuff that's crazy detailed that if you really wanted to minimize your chances of being fully prosecuted, you wouldn't tell anybody. It was just clearly weird. And it just seemed to me that he's just trying to cover for his boyfriend because they both had it. They plotted it. His boyfriend helped him. And he's like, we need to create some cover. So let's do it. Last thing you do is going to text words, right? Last thing you're going to do is text a confession when you're on the run after something so dastardly. So I just think that that was orchestrated to that they were planning that so that the boyfriend would have cover. He's going to get immunity anyway because that's like the golden ticket, right? You got that. You got automatic. You got the DNA. You got the confession and text. You got the video. Slam dunk. And it's also important that you've got, a boyfriend who rolls over a state's evidence. So it was just super odd to me. A number of people later on started saying that after I tweeted it as soon as I read it and saw it. Well, as soon as I heard it, because they talk about it in the press conference, as soon as I heard it, I said, because I'm leaving the gym by then, I'm like, that just sounds completely orchestrated to me. Who would do this? I mean, I think he's obviously very calculated. He pulled it off on his own. So there's, surprise, surprise, he did it. He also goes on to say he had a $2,000 scope. So it was a cheap rifle or an older, cheaper rifle. And the scope is what he was proud of. Just weird stuff. Just disgusting. So now let's talk about, let's get rid of that and let's go to the arraignment, which I think is quite interesting. Hold on here real quick. Let's jump to the arraignment. And there's some interesting stuff that came out of that. Here we go. We're going to go full screen on that. All right, let's check this out.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. You're probably already aware of my presence or why I'm here, but if not, I am not entering an appearance. I'm not counsel on this case. I'm working with the county to get counsel assigned, but we need you to allow for the appointment of counsel.
Thank you, Mr. Skordas. I want to go through the qualifications.
Absolutely.
For indigent.
By the way, I just want to let you guys know that's not my desktop that you're seeing up there. Okay, that's somebody else's, not my desktop. Just thought I'd say that.
See, but that is my intent, Mr. Skordas.
Or a video capture.
And I thank you for being here.
So this guy in the black on that corner that looks like a funeral director, he is the prosecution. And then the guy in the tan that's in the split screen with the judge, he's not the public defender, but they're working on getting this lunatic assigned one. The truth is, it's very hard to find somebody that's going to take on this guy because it's so high profile. Here's my prediction. I predict somebody very famous lawyer-wise that's a defender is going to take this pro bono because I don't think there's any public defender that's going to defend him. It's very tough. Throughout history, certain terrorist suspects have had a very hard time finding lawyers unless it's one of those high-profile ones that does it just for the publicity. And obviously, this piece of shit in the flak jacket is your little baby fucking Tyler murderer there.
So, Mr. Robinson, you have a right to an attorney. If you cannot afford one, the court can appoint an attorney to represent you. I have reviewed your declaration of financial status and find that you are indigent. I'm provisionally appointing a Rule 8 qualified attorney to represent you on your case.
So that means you're going to have to find somebody that has the ability to argue a death penalty case, which is hard to do. I know you could thinking, I'll just give them an attorney. They don't do that. When you're this kind of lunatic, they have to give you like a good qualified attorney, or it's just going to be a mess. And they said he's indigent. Great. So Charlie Kirk, multimillionaire, puts 1,000 people to work, has an incredible business, incredible footprint. He's on text messaging with the president. By the way, he had security clearance. That's something I just learned. He had security clearance with the White House. He was aware of national security stuff, advisor to the president and his team, a really wonderful guy, father, husband, all that. And this loser that doesn't have a penny murders him. It takes him off the planet, takes him off the board, affects the future of the United States because this guy could have been the president. It's so tragic that this loser did this. It's just so pointless.
Mr. Robinson. Along with their filing of their appearance of counsel, the assigned attorneys must file declarations with the court that outline their qualifications under Rule 8.
100%. It's hard to find that a qualified lawyer to take this on.
No, thank you very much, Your Honor.
Turning to the state.
Here's the state.
So wait,
Whoop.
what's the catch?
Whoop, sorry, guys.
That's what most people ask when they hear about
commercial.
California's new RSSE solar incentive.
Okay. Commercial.
Yes, Your Honor. Chad Grunander for the state. I'm also joined, and they're listed as attendees.
They got a whole
Ryan
team.
McBride, Lauren Hunt, David Sturgill, and Chris Ballard. We are the trial team on this case.
Oh.
I do have a few points I'd like to bring up with Your Honor. We have filed
Oh, this is interesting here. He talks about, well, listen.
a pretrial protective order on behalf of Erica Kirk. We would ask the court to review that. It should be in your queue, Your Honor, and sign that.
Thank you. I have reviewed the pretrial protective order and will be issuing this pretrial protective order in favor of Erica Kirk.
So that's interesting. So they did a protective order, restraining order, probably covering him and his family, anybody that knows him from ever having contact with her. That's interesting. I didn't realize that was a thing, but that makes sense. So that's that. I thought that was interesting. So not only is he in jail, but now the judge granted a restraining order, a protective order for Erica against this piece of slime.
Is there any other business that we need to address today, counsel?
Just for the court's information, we did file just recently, within the last few minutes, a notice of intent to seek the death penalty that was filed.
Look at baby
by
Tyler.
Utah County Attorney Jeff Gray.
Doesn't even
So that
flinch.
should be in the court's file.
Looks down.
Lastly, I would just indicate to the court and to, at this point, Mr. Robinson, that we are prepared to collect all of the discovery in this matter and get that turned over to the defense as soon as possible. Information in bringing these to disseminate to the defense.
What you want to do is you have the right to have the charges read that you stand charged of. And I wish to read those to you at this time.
So he reads them to him.
Thank you. Listen, for count 1, 202, or knowingly caused the death of Charlie Kirk, other than Charlie Kirk and the defendant. Notice conviction of this offense may carry the death penalty or pursuant to Utah Code 76-3-207.7, a mandatory term of imprisonment for life without parole, or an indeterminate term of not less than 25 years, that may be for life.
Wow. Okay. So you get the gist. 6 days ago, 6 days ago, Charlie Kirk was alive, and he didn't even know who this Tyler piece of shit was. Nobody did. And look how fast the world changes. I mean, to hear the judge read those words for the murder of Charlie Kirk to that slime bag, it's just so weird, man. It's so surreal that this is real. And again, I didn't know Charlie Kirk. I wasn't a huge fan, but I knew him as a personality, and the fact that I know so much about him now after his death, it just even feels more surreal to me that this guy would have done that, and here he is, like 22 years old. I don't care about this person, him at all. I'm not going to celebrate. If he gets the death penalty, I'm not going to celebrate like all of these people that worship the god of death. I think the whole thing is a tragic mess. I don't even believe in the death penalty like most people do. I think this deserves it. I think there's certain crimes that deserve it. Sorry. I think there's certain crimes that deserve it, but rare ones, and this is one of them. But it's so surreal. So Parents, figure out what's going on with your young men. There was a war on women, then it turned into a war on children. Well, back before in the 80s, it was a war on unborn. I want to kill them all. Let God sort them out. Jesus Christ. Obsessed. I honestly think the obsession with murder did start back then when it was all about let's abort everybody. I'm not saying that you don't have a right to do what you want with your body. I'm just saying, be honest. You're killing something that's alive. If you can live with it, get on with your bad self. That's you. But so this whole obsession, and then the Roe versus Wade gets overturned, and then it's this whole obsession with then it's just dramatics and lunatics. We should have saw this coming. All the lunatics online, I want to have abortions now, and I want to blah, blah, blah. We want to keep our rights to, kill the unborn. Well, but whatever. I mean, that was lunatic friend shit. We should have saw it coming. And then now we've got everyone's just obsessed with worshiping the God of death over Charlie. So when this guy gets the chair or whatever he gets, lethal, whatever he gets, or when he's sentenced to it, I'm not going to celebrate because I think it's disgusting it's disgusting we're even here. That's not going to it's not bringing Charlie back. It's not fixing anything. I mean, look, let's say he gets into a vulnerable spot and some lunatic kills him, which happens all the time with high-profile assassins or high-profile prisoners. Would you feel happy about that? I wouldn't. Let's say that happened tomorrow. And yeah, I'd feel relieved that we don't have to put the country through this, which is a whole nother thing, and his family through a trial for this waste of space. But it's just so terrible that we're even talking about death when we should be talking about life. And that is important. So speaking of that, anyway, my point was war on the unborn, then it became a war on children, then it became a war on women. What's a woman? Now it's a war on conservatives. Outright war on conservatives. And then it's all the below, right? And I think it's more of a war on men now. Masculinity. Now we know that was a thing, toxic masculinity, helicopter parents, creating soy boys. It's a softer generation, very soft. But I do think it's a legitimate mind war on young men. So if you have a young man in your life, he can be a liberal. He can be a fantastic liberal. Be a fantastic Democrat. Knock yourself out. Just don't be a lunatic that shoots at people, thinks violence is important, thinks violence is okay, and shuts down debate and shouts and screams at people because you can't get your liberal way. Don't be that. Don't be that person and help your young people, man. And that's what Charlie was doing. So the youth, it's a war on the youth of America, and now I think it's a war on masculinity, war on men, war on young men. The more young men, their minds get twisted, the more we lose our country. We need masculinity. We need that. I do think that the father, you can't put it all on him, but I have a lot of concerns about what these people did do, as you know. A lot of concerns. What did they do to intervene? I mean, you have grown men that have drug habits. A 45-year-old guy or something, the entire family intervene. They'll call him. I'll tell you this. They were probably very terrified of his psycho, lunatic, liberal screaming and tantrums, and probably he's a lost cause. But if he had been on drugs, they would have been all over him, calling him, harassing him, friends, interventions. If he's 20, 30, 40 years old, families will be all over drug addicts and alcoholics and be in their business. But when it comes to the mind virus, when it comes to swinging radically left, where it's very unhealthy, and you're unhealthy as it is as a young man, you have mental issues as it is, clearly he does, to even get to that point. Why are we not doing the intervention with that? Why are we afraid? We're more afraid of liberal young men that are soy boys and their little anger and tantrums. We're more afraid of that as a society than we are raging drug addicts. We'd rather confront a drug addict than confront a soy boy that's full of liberal weirdness and rage. And that's where we're at. Drugs are probably safer than liberal ideas. At least drugs wear off. So thanks for watching, guys. I'm trying to get back to being lighthearted, and this is helping me. Just dealing with the truth is helping me get there. Normally we do more fun stuff, so check out my interviews in my archive. Follow me on YouTube. I really appreciate that. I really appreciate that. I'm a conservative. You might be a liberal, but let's work together. I'm going to try to get both sides on my show, and I've done it. That's how I used to do things. Now I'm going to register Republican now. It's really important that I make a decision because I was an independent, but I'm very unhappy with being an independent in California, and I'm unhappy with the Libertarian Party. They've let me down. They posted some stuff that was vile, man. The Libertarian Party on their X account posted vile stuff about Charlie Kirk, basically celebrating murder. I just can't do this with these people. I can't. So I'm not gonna play with that. I'm gonna change my registration. But if you like if you want to check out my archive, please do that on TikTok. Real Jason J. Daniel. I do sports. We do sports. We love sports. Football, basketball. That's a welcome distraction. So if you want to check out that, we go live on TikTok every sport night, like a football night. Well, every night's a sports night, but we go live on TikTok. We talk about sports, which is a lot of fun. Check that out. Real Jason J. Daniel, Jason J. Daniel everywhere else. If you're watching this on X, please like it and share it. I'd appreciate that. Repost it. If you're watching on YouTube, please give me a subscription. It's free, and I would love you for it. God bless you guys. Be safe. Go with God. Via con Dios. And thanks for watching. Be safe.